Oh, yes, fellas, you know what time it is. Yes, time to get it in this evening. So, one question for you. Have you ever got to a point in your life where you're working on a specific goal, and no matter how hard you work on that goal, I'm talking about you putting in time and work and effort, and maybe even what used to work toward this goal isn't working anymore. And you are trying everything in your power to achieve, to get to the next level in this goal, and you just can't seem to get there, and you are at your wits end. Typically, this is what I call the crossroads because it's time to make a decision. And so tonight, I'm talking about the one decision that you can make that can particularly make or break your future success and fulfillment today on Elite Performance with Dr. Brad. Let's get it. Yeah, let's talk about this, man. Like, I don't know if you have ever felt like there might be a goal, something that you really care about, something. It could be a career goal, it could be a personal goal, it could be a relationship goal, it could be a health goal, it doesn't matter. But you feel like you have tried everything in your power. I mean, you have done any and everything to try to advance in this goal, to try to succeed or achieve in this goal. And it feels like no matter what you do, nothing's working. Or maybe it's gotten to the point to where whatever you're working on, this could be career, business, health, like the stuff that used to work just isn't working anymore. And it feels like things are just at a standstill. Like you're working hard, but nothing's really happening as a result of it. Okay. And maybe you've tried the secrets, right? The quote unquote secrets. If you're listening to the podcast right now, I'm doing the air quotes, the secrets that the gurus out there are telling you to do in your business. And you've literally tried to duplicate that process and you stuck with it for a while, but nothing's happened. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. I've definitely been at that place. And I call it the crossroads. It's this place where you know you have to do something different, right? Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, we all know that's the definition of insanity. So you're at this place where you know you need to do something different. But the real question is this, is, am I going to continue to do things my way and in my power, or am I going to submit to God's way and do this with God's power? See, sometimes we have to try every option that exists to get to this point. And when I say every option, like we have to try so many different things to advance in our goals. Like we try everything. And it seems like the last thing that we eventually end up trying is trying God's way. And oftentimes what happens is, like we end up either falling on our back or losing really bad, or something really bad has to happen in order for us to look at that one option of God's way and saying, you know what, I'm gonna try that way. But that's in essence what we're talking about is, are we gonna continue to do things my way, our own way, or are we gonna submit to God's way? Because I can tell you, if the sooner you get to this question and whatever it is that you're going after, hopefully it doesn't have to get to the point to where you've lost a lot or you're in so much pain you got to this question. But that was what happened with me. This is a good place to be at, believe it or not, because you have to make a decision. So, for example, in my story, man, it got to a point to where I had a small home-based business. I was trying to work this home-based business, and I remember having a bunch of success earlier on in the business, and then it got to a point to where what was working wasn't working anymore. And I was working my tail off trying to make this thing go, and at the same time trying to build my practice. And these were the things that I would just had, tremendous amount of focus on. And I tried doing everything. Other people who were having success in a similar business, I was talking to them. I was buying books. I was going to conferences, and I was applying this stuff. It's not like I was sitting on my tail, right? I was trying to build my practice. It's not like I was sitting on my tail. But guess what? everything stopped. It seemed like everything came to a screeching halt. And no matter what I tried to try and generate success, to try and achieve at a higher level, which, by the way, I got so stubborn, it started to cost me important relationships. It started to cost me my faith. It started to cost me my family time, and the things that really matter. And it finally got to this point to where it's like I tried every door. I tried the working harder door. I tried the let me try the new trick door. I tried, you know what? Let me go back to what was working again door. Hey, let me try every single thing I possibly can do to advance and get, and achieve my goals, but it wasn't happening. And the last door that was left, while I'm sitting here unfulfilled and I'm not where I want to be in my career in life, the last door that's open is a door that's basically God's door. And I was looking at that door reluctantly. And I felt like there was something inside of me that was always saying, man, you really ought to check out this door. But I was reluctant. I was stubborn. I was selfish, never really wanted to take that door. I wanted to do it my way. And so, but it got to this point to where I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to take this door. I'm going to reluctantly take this door as the option of what I believe on the other side of this is going to be my success, happiness, and fulfillment. And I walked in that door saying, fine, God, you know what? I'm going to go through this door to get what I want. Like I reluctantly walked through that door. You know what I'm saying? And so here's the problem. The problem is that oftentimes we believe that our way is the better way, right? Which makes no sense in comparison to God, right? Like we believe our way, our plans, the things that we're trying to put together, you know, that our plans are somehow better than God's. And the reason why I can say that is because we think that way because, well, first of all, they're our own thoughts. So of course we think they're awesome. But if we really thought God's way was better, we'd have done his way a long time ago. So that's one of the problems is we think that our way is the best way. Our way is the right way. The other problem is we believe that we are completely in control of our results. We believe that literally we're the captain of our own ship and that our results depend 100% on what we do and nothing else. And if you're listening to me, sounds crazy, but it's how we think. And it's how the world has kind of, this self-help world, and you'll hear me talk about this, man. It's self-help, which I really like to call self-hype. They want you to believe, man, you're the captain of your own ship. And you're you are responsible for your results only. Well, yes, to a certain degree, responsible for my decisions. We're gonna talk about this here in a little bit. But like there are so many other things that come to play that influence my results outside of just the choices and the decisions that I make. Right. And then last but not least, man, another problem is, man, we're just stubborn and selfish, man. We want things to happen our way. We want it to happen the way we've planned it. We want to get the credit for it. We want to get the glory for it. This is just how we're wired, particularly high achieving men. We want to win and we want other people to know that it was our plan and it all worked out and we won. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. These questions are going to help you understand the best decision to make when you get at this crossroads. Hey, am I going to continue to go at this thing my way versus am I going to do it God's way? And hopefully these questions can kind of help you get to the right decision. First question is, do I believe that God actually knows better than I do about my current situation? now, now, mind you, uh, this is somewhat of a rhetorical question. Do I believe God knows better about my situation and how to succeed in this current circumstance that I'm in? I mean, does he know better than I do? Of course he does. But you have to really ask yourself that question because you need to hear it come out of your own mouth that yes, God does know better about your current situation than you do. Second question I want you to ask yourself is, why am I going after this goal that means so much to me or that I'm currently struggling with? This is a huge question. Why am I really going after this? Why am I going after this thing? And I want you to wrestle with that question because, and I want you to be honest with yourself because oftentimes we will come to a selfish conclusion when you ask that question. That career goal, that health goal, that whatever goal, why are you doing it? See, for me, I started realizing that that home-based business that I was doing, that small business was that I was running, man, I was doing it strictly just for me to succeed because it was the Dr. Brad show, man. It was strictly because I just wanted to experience more success. Like I didn't really have a good reason for it. You know what? I tried to give these reasons, like, man, I'm putting food. I'm trying to provide for my family. Man, I'm more than providing for our family. Like, really, right? I mean, I tried to give excuses, but really, when I really look down at it, and the other thing is, I was trying to prove some other people wrong. Some other people told me you can't do it. Yeah, it's not. You won't be able to build that business. And I was basically in a very angry way building this business to prove some people wrong, right? And so I want you to ask yourself that question, man, is why am I really going after the goals I'm struggling with? Later on, I started figuring out that sometimes a lot of this too was just I was trying to be validated. I was trying to get validated by, to prove to myself that I was worth something by achieving more. I had my own issues. And the third question I want you to ask is this. This is another very real question. Is do you trust in God? Do you trust him? Do you trust the God that you say you believe? Do you actually trust him? There's a difference between belief and trust. I'm gonna talk about that here in a minute. But do you trust him enough to say, you know what? I'm gonna take that door, or I'm gonna make the decision to do it your way and not my way. Do you trust him enough? Do you trust the stories that you've read in the Bible? Do you trust the times that when you look back on your past, whenever he showed up and be like, man, do you remember that? Do you draw on these on your personal stories? Do you draw on the stories of what other people have experienced? Do you trust him enough to make the decision to do it his way and not yours? Because when you're at this crossroads, man, you've been trying to do it your way the entire time. It's not working. We got to do something different. And so here's what's crazy. I think about, like I'll tell you a story. It reminds me of some patients that I have when they come in my office. So I'm in the sports medicine clinic, and I'll have a patient every now and then that comes in. They've identified that something is wrong. So, for example, they say, you know what, doc, I'm here to see you because my knee hurts. And they've identified that something's wrong, but they come in with their plan from top to bottom of how they believe their knee should be treated, which usually excludes anything that has to do with my input towards how their knee is going to get better. And oftentimes it's more of what they've already been doing, but feeling like they just need to do more of that. So they'll be like, doc, like I've been trying to run. It hurts when I run. I've been doing some ice. I've been, taking some ibuprofen, and I've been doing some stretches, and it's getting a little bit better, but it's not as good as I would want. But you know what I think needs to happen, what I think I want to do, what I think is going to work is if I just continue to do this a little more, that it's probably going to get better. What do you think? So like they come with a problem, but they come with their own plan to fix the problem, and are going to continue to do what hadn't really been working toward the problem, and that brought them to me anyway, but isn't really open to hear what I have to say about that problem. Here's what's crazy. We do the same thing with our relationship with God, man. It's like, look, there's an issue that I'm having, and I got my plan, right? And I'm working this plan. I'm gonna try to work this plan. Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say, but really, at the end of the day, I think this is what's going to work. Hadn't been working a whole lot, but I'm gonna keep working it. I'm gonna keep trying to work it, and maybe when it gets bad enough, I'll come and holler at you. And here's what's crazy: I'm the expert, right? So you have the knee, patient has a knee problem. You came to see me, and you've recognized that I know more about you about this thing, yet you aren't willing to, number one, let me be the expert and to trust that what I have for you actually works. And guess what happens? They finally get to a point where it's not working. And then it's like, look, you need this injection, or you need this therapy, or you need whatever that's going to help them get better. And then they can get better. But it's a very similar dynamic as I think about my patients. And so here's what we can do. Here is what we can do when it comes to this decision to finally get to the point where we can say, you know what, I'm going to trust your way and not my way, God. First thing we got to do is we have to accept that we are not in control. We are not in control. We're not in control of everything. God is in control of everything. We are in control of one thing. We are simply in control of our decisions. We're simply in control of the decisions that we make. That's it. See, I can decide to build a business. I can decide to do everything that it takes to build a business, but I'm not guaranteed that if I do every single thing that the other person did who had that same business in the same area with the same type of clients is going to work. I'm not guaranteed that. God is sovereign. He's the one that controls how that's going to happen. I only make the decision to build the business. I only make the decision to go into the gym. I'm only making the decision to want to work on my marriage. I want to make a decision to build a better relationship with my children. But that doesn't mean that because I made the decision and that I'm doing all the right things toward it, that it's going to happen the way I planned it or that it's even going to. Because I plant a seed, here's what's crazy. Because I plant a seed, even if I plant several seeds of, pick a fruit, an apple, I can till the soil, I can water it, but it's not guaranteed that it's going to grow massive trees. It's not, right? There's so many things that I don't have control over. I don't have control over the weather. It can come flood everything, and then guess what? What I did is done. Once we realize that we are not in control of every single thing, but that we take full control of what we do have control over, which is our decisions, and stay in our lane and let God handle the rest, amen, we will have so much more peace and realize that we're not in control of everything. We're responsible for the only what we can control, which is our decisions. That's it. That's all that you can control is your choice, the choices that you make. On the other side of that, God is making things happen. Second thing that we need to do, so first we need to accept that we're not in control. Second thing we need to do is we need to accept that God is the expert. We need to accept that God is the expert of everything. So when we go to him, we need to be willing to allow him to be the expert in whatever area that we're struggling in. We need to allow him to work on our knee. We need to allow him to work on our relationship. We need to allow him to work on it. He's the expert. And our plans don't mount up nearly to what his plans are, nor do they work as well. It may work well. Our plans may work well temporarily, but at the end of the day, man, so many of us are trying to be our own God. I mean, that was me, right? And then the third thing we need to do is we need to accept God's help. Because it's one thing to accept that he's the expert. It's like the patient walking into the office that's saying, hey, listen, man, I know you're the expert, but am I going to actually receive the help? So you need to be willing to receive his help. You got to be willing to receive what he wants to do. And it may look unconventional, right? Like it may be completely unconventional. Sometimes what I tell my patients are things that is going to help them seems like that doesn't seem like that might work. But if you trust me as the expert, on the other side of it is improvement. On the other side of it is getting closer toward the goals that we're trying to have happen. So we're talking about three things to accept. Accept that you're not in control, accept that God is the expert, and accept his help. Now, here's the other thing about this. This acceptance that we talk about requires trust. We go back to the question of, do you trust him? This acceptance of what I'm talking about right now is, it's going to require trust of God. Most of us do not trust, certainly not enough. We don't have enough trust to hand him over the keys. See, relinquish, submit, surrender. These are words that aren't in our vocabulary, man, as men. But I'm telling you, this is the path that works. And hopefully, what I can do through the course of this podcast and my content is share with you how somebody who is stubborn as myself, as high achieving and motivated to get my way done, I'm sitting here and telling you this is the way, this is the path, this is what I finally realized works. Most of us, check this out, most of us do not see our relationship with God and how our proximity in terms and our intimacy in terms of our relationship with God correlates any way, shape, or form to our performance in life as men. We don't see the correlation. We don't see that if I actually that the relationship with God helps you perform better. I never saw it. I saw it as two separate things. There's relationship with God over here, and then there's performance in my career, life, health, all this stuff over here. If I would have known that the more I invested in time in building a relationship and building trust with God actually turned into higher performance, my God, I'd have done that a long time ago. But again, I got to, I'm stubborn, just like many of us are. And so here's the deal. We have, in order to have this acceptance that I'm talking about, the accepting that we're not in control, the accepting that he is in control, that he is the expert, and that we need to accept his help, it requires trust. And trust requires relationship. You cannot trust someone, not even God, if you don't have a relationship with him. The trust ain't gonna be there. This is why I'm gonna scream to the mountaintops. And just about on every episode you hear is that it's going to require you to build a relationship in order to have the trust to be able, like, hey man, here's the keys. Because if we stop to think that we can drive better, that we can drive, our lives better than God can drive it, man, something's wrong. You're not in the right place. And I get it. So it requires relationships. And so here's what I want us to do. We have to decide to trust in God's plan more than we trust in our own. That's the call to action. Is I want you to trust in God's plan more than your own. And there's a difference between belief and trust. And so there's a story, and a shout out to, I heard this at my church. I heard the story at my church. Is just really, or at the church that I attend, it really put things into perspective. And so I want you to imagine, two tall buildings that are, somewhat close to each other, but they're separated by, let's just say, 50 yards. And it's super tall building, and there's a rope at the top of these buildings that connect one another. It's like a tight rope, and there's an acrobat, like someone who is going to walk the tightrope, and there's a large crowd watching him, walk the tightrope from one building to the other building, and obviously, it's an act of courage. It's an act of it's just this amazing thing. And the acrobat walks from one building to the next on the tightrope, and everybody is amazed. And so he asks the crowd, he's like, "Do you believe I can walk back?" And they're all cheering for him, and he walks back and does this a few times, and then he gets to a point where he gets a wheelbarrow, and he's rolling the wheelbarrow. He's walking and rolling the wheelbarrow across. "Do you believe I can do this?" Everybody screams like, "Yes, we believe you can do this." Everybody's all excited. And he rolls back on the wheelbarrow, and then he puts rocks in the wheelbarrow. And then, "Do you believe I can do it?" Yes, he walks across the tightrope, walks back, and everybody's excited. He's like, "Do you believe I can walk to the other side and back with this wheelbarrow?" And he uses some different things. And then finally he says, "Awesome. So you believe I can do this?" It says, "Yes." Well, who wants to get inside the wheelbarrow? Do you trust me enough? Do you not only believe that I can do it, but do you trust me enough that I can take you across here with me? And nobody raises their hand. So the question is this: yes, you believe, but do you trust? Do you trust enough to get in the wheelbarrow? Do you trust enough to say, God, I'm gonna give you the keys because I know you can drive better than I can? And I'm just gonna be responsible for making the decision, to making the choices that I believe are gonna put me in the best place. Which by the way, the best decision that you can make is to decide to build a relationship with God. But are you gonna trust enough to give the keys? Because you're at a crossroads right now. What was working is not working. What you've been trying to do to work toward this goal isn't working. Are we going to continue to try to do it our way, or are we going to start to give God the keys? Now, here's what happened to me. I gave God the keys, and on the other side of that was me realizing that what I was going after is not what I really wanted. On the other side of giving him the keys was my why. What was on the other side of giving him the keys and starting to trust was purpose, was understanding what my purpose was. What was on the other side of giving him the control and saying, you know what, I'm going to do it your way, was turning the decisions that I had made that weren't good decisions in my life in the past and redeeming them for a good purpose and a passion to help other people in the future. Was on the other side of that was impact for the lives of other people. What it was service. What it was clarity, peace, patience, perspective. That is what is on the other side of saying, you know what? I'm gonna do it your way and not mine. It's a life that we are worthy of, but you gotta be willing. Yes, we're worthy of this amazing life, but you have to be willing to let God do his part because he's better at it than we are. Now, here's the problem. If we fail to, at this crossroads, say, you know what, I'm going to give you the keys to the car and I'm going to decide to ride shotgun. Then if we decide not to make that decision, then we're going to continue to struggle. We're going to struggle in life, whether we let God have the keys or not, right? I'd rather him have the keys, but you're going to continue to struggle. It's going to be more stress, and you're going to strangle your future success and fulfillment. Witness it in my own life, witness it in the life of other men. And so I urge you, build the relationship so that you can build the trust, so that you can hand over the keys, and so that you can do your part, which is just making decisions and let him take care of the rest.